Poll question today, AAA Heating and Cooling at 1080 The Fan on X. We're asking you, is it title or bust for the Dan Lanning era at Oregon? Absolutely. Want to say yes, but nah. Or just happy to be relevant. Why are you laughing?
Oh, just the Duck fan is, you know. I would be fair about this because I think Dan Lanning is a bit of a rock star.
Football's football, and the only way to get better at it is to play football.
You know, it's if I'm buying futures, I am buying stock in Dan Lanning and the Oregon Ducks. I think the team that they're going to roll out this year, I don't think it's really arguable. This is the most talented team they've had top to bottom.
Yeah, they're number 3 in the rankings. Did you know that?
It's they're
already doing rankings.
There's NFL players at every level.
So
every
Georgia
position.
is 1.
Yeah.
Ohio State is 2.
Yes.
Oregon 3. Texas 4. Alabama 5.
Yeah. There's massive expectations. This team is loaded, like I said, NFL players at every position.
Best quarterback room in the country, probably, right?
Well, I mean, Dylan Gabriel.
Texas.
Yeah, Texas has, and we don't know. I mean, Dante Moore was underwhelming at UCLA, but certainly was a big-time recruit. But Dylan Gabriel is a big-time proven player. So you love everything they have, but it's like, Dan Lanning's going to be here forever, and he's the man, and we've never seen this before. But, like, they've said that literally about every coach. Like, we all do this. Gary Anderson was this at Oregon State. When he beat Oregon, it was like, Gary Anderson, the Beavs have returned. They said when Willie Taggart came, I was like, oh, my God, Willie Taggart's the guy. And then he left, and it was like, good, we didn't want him anyways. Mario Cristobal, no one recruits like Mario Cristobal. And then how'd that go? And by the way, the Cristobal leaving was the best thing that ever happened to you. Same thing with Taggart, because both those guys look like clowns right now. And so it's like,
we just rolled, brother.
How many times can you be like, this one, he never leaves, this guy's the best? It's just that there's always consistent buy-in from any program, and I get why. And I chuckle a little bit at the nature of the next guy is always the best guy, and he'll never leave, and he'll never break our heart, and there's no way we can possibly do it.
Well, this time we really mean it, though.
Yeah.
Well, can I push back on that? First of all, I don't think that was said about Taggart. As a matter of fact, I think a lot of people were like, I don't know about this. Cristobal, for a while, had it going, but he sort of exposed himself a bit tactically. And I think he was very polarizing. There were some people that actually did not like Cristobal as successful as he was. The never leaves thing, those two guys particularly, people were terrified that they would leave, and they did.
Yeah.
I think the only reason...
But there's no way Dan Lanning will leave.
Well, I think there's one thing that is different, and that is that the Alabama job came open, and he instantly put out a video saying, I'm not going anywhere, and it sort of... That was a really big deal, I think, for Oregon fans to just... Because I think at Oregon, this is part of the crux of the question is, does Oregon get to this level of expectation that we see at other blue blood schools? I don't know if it ever gets there, but that's kind of what I'm asking. And with Lanning, I think he has taken it to another level, certainly better than Taggart and Cristobal. Now, I get it. It's, you still have to develop and coach and stay healthy, and you certainly got to beat Washington. He's got a lot of boxes still to check. Yep. But the talent level, it's the best they've ever had. And he has said repeatedly, and I just think he's got this sort of... he's just got this vibe where he's genuine. He has said repeatedly, I can win a championship here. This is what I'm focused on. And it's not to say that he will never leave. I don't think anybody's naive enough to think that Dan Lanning will be here forever. It's just that there was a really big opportunity for him to leave, it seems, and he didn't.
We don't even know if he was offered that job.
Well, I don't think he was offered the job. But I think the point is, and he told us this, because I asked him about this last time he was on a couple weeks ago, the point is he didn't care that job was open. He didn't care he wasn't offered that job. It was, I have everything I need to win here.
Sure.
And so Lanning is different than those other two guys, and that's not to say that he will never leave or something bad can't happen, but I think that the crux of the question is the point of, does it ever get to a level where the natives get restless when this guy continues to recruit and just continues to take it up? And I mean, they're starting 3rd in the country.
It's ridiculous.
So that right there, I'm just talking about, I'm not even talking about just this year, but if we keep it to just this year, that's pressure. Yeah. I mean, you're already top 3. You have a schedule that sets up well for you. There really is no excuse roster-wise. You host Ohio State, the one team that is ahead, or two teams that are ahead of you in the rankings. You host one of them. The other one you don't play. It's a 12-team tournament, much bigger tournament, so you should get into everything
is set up.
So if they fail, then it's like murmurs, whispers, right? And then that's why I asked Dan Lanning era. Over time, can the natives get so restless that we're talking like Ryan Day at Ohio State, where that guy, all he does is win games, but he has not won a title and he has real trouble against Michigan.
But only the last 2 years. Before that, he owned them.
Well, what's his record against Michigan?
I'll look it up, because Jim Harbaugh, before Ryan Day was on the hot seat, Jim Harbaugh was going to get fired and take a pay cut because he couldn't beat Ohio State.
There's a great example of what I'm talking about. Is Ryan Day is at Ohio State, and expectations couldn't be higher than a place like Ohio State, right?
Yeah.
Like that's Alabama, Georgia, Texas, all the teams they're in the top 5 with. Right?
Sure.
Very interesting that those teams are all the top 5 teams.
Yeah.
There's expectations that those schools are astronomical compared to Oregon. My question is will Oregon's expectations ever get to that level? Or is there just a thing here where we're out west and there's a lot of fans that really just love Oregon being good and relevant, and they love the chase of the title, and if it never comes, that's fine. This is really fun. Same as the Chip Kelly era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's the question.
I do think you can get restless. I just think that he is so popular right now. He's gonna get a runway, and it's gonna be different for him because of the 12-team tournament. You would assume that Oregon makes it on a regular to somewhat semi-regular basis, and I just think he's gonna get a long runway. I do.
Oh,
and
I
I
agree with
think
that.
he's gonna be successful. But yes,
But is it title or bust?
yeah, it is.
I mean, if Dan Lanning leaves Oregon
And doesn't win a title
and has never won a title,
Yeah.
it will not be viewed as a success. Well, that's kind of a bad. Of course, it's successful. He's going to win a lot of games, it seems.
Yes, he will.
But it's just disappointing.
Yeah, it will be. And he's got to start notching. And again, it's his 3rd year. But this is what I brought up with Cristobal. So Cristobal got here and he went, I don't count the COVID year, right? That was whatever. So Cristobal was here. He went 9-4, 12-2, and 10-3. Won the Rose Bowl, by the way, too. Won a Pac-12 title.
We were talking about that game while you were away
Yeah.
because they showed it on that, Origin Sports. Have you seen Origin Sports?
No.
Yeah, it just shows up on my DirecTV stream, and it just shows old football games.
Sure.
They were showing Justin Herbert against Wisconsin, that game.
Yeah.
I watched that game.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. They were so bad.
Who?
Oregon.
Yeah,
They won the game.
their offense is.
But, oh, my God. I had forgotten. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember that game as a huge win. Winning the Rose Bowl is a big deal. Justin Herbert crying after the game.
He did it with his legs.
He did, but he had 29 yards rushing. Did you know that?
Only 29?
Yes.
Huh.
Dude, I think they had 204 yards
He
of
had 3
offense.
touchdowns, which makes everyone think he had a monster game.
Mario
actually.
Cristobal's offense, ladies and gentlemen.
Dude, it was really ugly.
But you know what I'm saying? So, because we now crop all over Cristobal, but 9-4, 12-2, 10-3, won the Rose Bowl.
We
Won
just
a
rolled,
Pac-12
brother.
title. Again, saying I'm buying stock in Dan Lanning, but you know, in the years that Dan Lanning has been here, he went 10-3, won a Holiday Bowl, and he went 12-2, and his biggest win, Utah. He's 1-1 in the Civil War. He's 0-3 against Washington. They've never won the conference. You know, all I'm saying is there is as good as we think they're going to be and as loaded as this roster is, and the trajectory looks like it's going sky high. I'm not just saying you got to win national championships. You got to start having some bigger wins. Like if they go, 12-2 every year, but their 2 losses are their 2 biggest games. You're losing to Ohio State. You're losing to Washington. The natives are going to get restless a lot sooner than you think. And it's not going to be about winning national championships. It's like, hey, why the hell can't we beat the teams? Because I think in Oregon's mind, and by the way, I tend to agree with this, I think you've elevated yourself where you should only really be judged on 2 or 3 games a year. And in the Big Ten, those games are going to be Washington, Michigan, Ohio State. The rest of those games,
Well, that's already happened.
they are going to expect you to win because you are at that level.
So I'm not
10 wins doesn't mean much. Go ask Clemson.
No, I got you there.
Right now.
Yeah, that's for sure. But
It's a dadgum mistake.
I'm just not sure anyone thought Cristobal was good enough to get them over the top. As a matter of fact, he started to get. There were a lot of whispers about him and that offense towards the end there. And yes, you can still win a lot of games, but I think Oregon is just at this place where, I mean, they've played in 2 national title games. I mean, they've been very, 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 very close.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of fans were getting a little restless about Cristobal getting them back there. People believe Lanning can because of the way he's recruiting and how just good they look offensively, right? So I just think there's a lot of difference between what the optimism with Lanning and what was going on with Cristobal. I get what you're saying, and I think it's fair because Lanning, I mean, you are what you are on paper, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, come on, I just think a lot of people are way higher on Lanning than Cristobal.
Give it another 2 years if he doesn't beat Ohio State and he doesn't beat Washington.
Well, and that's the whole point of the question is, like, is it title or bust?
Yeah, I say yes.
Because somebody texted in the Vancouver Ford text line is, he says, I think for Oregon fan, wait, where'd that go? Never mind. Hold on.
Just to answer, I do believe we are at the point now where, and a lot of Duck fans, it is that. It is time to win the big one.
It's never just building. Because right now, like you can rationalize the Washington losses. They were close games.
Still lost.
Blew a big lead to Oregon State. But you're trending towards something so much bigger and better that it's like, okay, that's fine. But we'll eventually get those games, right?
Yep.
But you're right. If they don't, oh baby, here come the pitchforks, and then that's where you can drive a guy out of town.
Yeah.
Because he's like, well, dude, you don't respect me. Like, what the hell do you want from me? I'm working on it. So yeah, it will be interesting to see if the heat ever gets, cranked up on Dan Lanning, because this is traditionally an area with fans that have somewhat of a perspective, unlike Alabama.
Those perspectives are
or
changing.
Ohio State.
Expectations are sky high.
This guy says, as an Oregon alum with several friends, also Oregon alumni, you could not be more wrong. We are holding our breath and not saying a word because we're expecting to not live up to expectations, and then we will eventually lose Lanning. No Oregon alumni or fan I know is assuming anything or puffing out their chest like we have this one in the bag.
That's not what I think.
Yeah, I don't think
those aren't the Duck fans that I know.
Well, that could be true of him and his friends. That is a perspective of some Oregon fans, West Coast fans, but there are a lot of them that are cocky sniffing right now.
Exactly, and Washington
for good reason.
And Washington fan correctly points out you should beat us first before you start talking about your program.
Yeah, well, he's gonna have to.
Yeah, you are what your record says you are.
Look at you, just crapping all over our friend Dan Lanning.
I'm buying stock.
Unbelievable.
God dang, what do you think?
I'm a big Dan Lanning
I'm going to
guy.
tell him this next time he's on.
That I'm sure he's going to be real bummed.
Football's football, and the only way to get better at it is to play football.
Yeah, that's right, Dan. But you know what my co-host said about you?
Making that choice.
This
son of a bitch. Holy cow.
Vote hard on X at 1080 The Fan.